So I feel like I kind of have a stewardship responsibility to be a good dad because I had such a good dad. So to be able to get a list of questions to ask my kids, it was just so helpful to have that. So I would really encourage you as dads to leverage the mealtime, drive time, and bedtime moments.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Life of Dad Show. Here in the Life of Dad Show, we talk with athletes, actors, entrepreneurs, CEOs, musicians, entertainers who've all made a name for themselves, but the one thing that is most important to them is being a dad. On this week's edition of the Life of Dad Show, I bring on Jeff Henderson. Jeff Henderson is an entrepreneur, speaker, pastor, and a business leader, and he came out with a book, Know What You Are For, a growth strategy for work and an even better strategy for life. We talk about fatherhood, we talk about the book, we also talk about champion tribes, something that he and other colleagues have done together to support boys growing up into their teenage years. Before we get into the interview, here's a word from our sponsor. This week's edition of the Life of Dad Show is being brought to you by Clearance. Relieve congestion and clear your stuffy nose fast with Clearance, an innovation for allergy mitigation and symptom control. Designed by an ER pediatrician, Clearance is a nasal irrigator and aspirator that has proven to reduce congestion caused by allergies like pollen and dust, environmental pollution and dry air, cold and flu, postnasal drip, and more. Consistently meeting the clinical guidelines for saline and safe suction, Clearance is not only a better way to help congested babies, but can be used by the whole family. For more information, visit clearmynose.com. All right, let's get into it. Here's my interview with Jeff Henderson on the Life of Dad Show. Enjoy. What's going on, everybody? Eddy here for the Life of Dad Show and online. I'm very happy to have Jeff Henderson. Thanks for taking the time to chat with me, Jeff. How you doing, sir?
All right, great to talk to you, buddy. Great to be here.
Yeah, we're going to talk about fatherhood in a second. We're also going to be talking about another great website that you have as well. It's a site that will help dads as their sons go into their teenage years, which I think is fantastic. But like I said, congratulations on your book, Know What You're For, a growth strategy for work and an even better strategy for life. I really love this title. Talk about the inspiration for this book.
I spent a number of years in the business world, Art, and then eventually transitioned to nonprofit. But I actually had the opportunity to work for two thriving, growing organizations, Chick-fil-A, I was in marketing for them, and then North Point Ministries, which is one of the largest churches in America. And I was very blessed with that. But then it occurred to me one day, wow, I've seen both of these organizations grow. What caused that growth to happen? And so there are a lot of things that factor into that. But if I had to boil it down to two questions, Art, it would be, what do you want to be known for? What's your unique niche? What's your dent in the universe, as Steve Jobs would say? What do you uniquely bring to the world? And then the second question is, what are you known for? That's the customer's reflection back to you on whether or not you are delivering on the answer to the first question. And when the answers to those two questions match, or when what you want to be known for is what you are known for, you create a sales force for free. People start talking about your business, your church, your organization, because they've experienced what you want to be known for. And the challenge I've discovered, though, is that there are a lot of organizations that the team isn't kind of clear on what are we doing, what is the problem we've gathered together to solve, what do we want to be known for. And if there's confusion in the office space about that, there will be confusion in the marketplace about that. So the two questions, what do you want to be known for, what are you known for, they seem a little simple. And the good news is they are simple, but it's not easy. But there is a process, because what you want to do is make sure that the gap between those two questions, that you shrink the gap and that they match. And because from a business standpoint, a business is no longer what it tells customers it is. A business is what customers tell customers it is. That's where it is. That's the positive word of mouth advertising. So the other part of the book, Art, that I think really ties in even closer to dads is those two questions aren't just reserved for organizations, businesses, or churches or nonprofits. They're actually a great strategy for our personal life. So, for example, what do you want to be known for as a dad? And then the second question is really for your kids. What are you known for? So if what we want to be known for is available, focused, priority-focused dad, but our schedule doesn't line up with that, then there's a gap between those two questions. So how do you shrink the gap between those two questions as a dad, maybe as a husband, a spouse, a leader, a boss, an employee? These two questions can really have a profound impact on every area of our life, because ultimately what these two questions will do is grow you. grow your business, grow your organization, and grow you as an individual.
Well said, sir. And something to kind of go along with that. In your book, one of the things that you mentioned is to live and work your best by caring for yourself. Some people, like, when I kind of was thinking about this, I'm like, all right, work-life balance and like certain things. And it's not maybe just work and life and your family balance, but like there's also that balance of you as an individual, as a father, as an entrepreneur, as an employee. How do you think people can achieve this? Obviously, you want people to read the book, and we'll definitely put up links on where people can purchase the book, but because we all get tied up in the minutia of life, and there's certain things like, oh, you wake up this morning like, all right, these are my goals, and you put the things for yourself on the back burner because it's for you got to worry about your family, your career, other things, other obligations. But how do you kind of care for yourself to make sure that you're living and working the best for not just your family and other people around you, but for yourself as well?
Great question. I think you have to remain inspired. You have to remain inspired as a dad. And that doesn't necessarily mean that there's anything wrong with not being inspired, because life does a good job of trying to wear us down. It's like I'm all for 2 or 3 day conferences. That's great. But then what do you do with the other 363 4 days of the year, right? And it's hard because every day we're pushed down or criticized or knocked down, and then things don't go according to plans always. And so then you just have the everyday monotony and routine of life sometimes. So you have to rise above that. You have to get ahead of that, and you have to remain inspired. And I think we have a little bit of an uneasy relationship with inspiration. We think if we have to work for it, it might not be authentic. And I think the exact opposite is true, that you have to fight for inspiration. You have to remind yourself why you got involved in this. And you have to remind yourself that, the days are long, but the years are short. So one of the ways I try, so I'm an almost empty nester. I have a 20-year-old college junior and an 18-year-old high school senior.
Okay.
And one of the things I did to help me remain inspired is to try to write them a note every week, just trying to pour in a life principle or just encouraging them, talking about something I saw in their life this week that I can pull out, either good or, a challenging thing. Say, hey, remember, here's what we talked about. And did I do that every week? No. Did I do it most weeks? Yes. And so now my kids have a collection of notes with them. But as I was writing these notes once a week, it just reminded me these days are going fast, and they did. So I had to fight for inspiration because there's pressures at work, there's pressures in marriage, there's pressures, financially. There are all kind of pressures in life. But I didn't want to wake up one day and just feel like I was arguing with the day-to-day details of life with my kids.
Yeah.
And so I had to rise above that to remain inspired. So whatever it takes, whatever it looks like for you, if that's exercise, if that's reading, if that's walking, if that's boating, whatever that may be, to remain inspired and fight for that is really, really, really important. Because if not, you're not, and I'm not going to be able to give our best to our kids.
Oh, I love that, Jeff. And one of the things that you're talking about, becoming an empty nester, right? So you have 2 kids, a boy and a girl. One of the things, too, that you kind of work on, too, is over at championtribes.com. And one of the things that I love here at Life of Dad is I get a chance to chat with great dads like yourself. And there's different dads that I talk to at different stages of their life. And I usually ask, what is one piece of advice you offer to new dads? And I think the advice is not only good for new dads, but it's good for any dad because it kind of refreshes that dad battery, right?
Right.
Where I'm going with this is like there are different dads that I come into meeting and I see where they're at, and I always like if they have kids older than mine. My daughters are 9 and 11, and so I always like seeing, talking to dads who've just recently experienced like kids' ages that are going to be my kids' ages pretty soon. So you have this Champion Tribes over at championtribes.com. We'll put that link up as well as your website over at Life of Dad, but you help champion these young men that are going to be high school kids. And even on your site over at championtribes.com, you talk about the collaboration. You work with a bunch of other great guys on your team. You talk about it doesn't just have to be for boys. It can be for daughters or sons. It can be for daughters as well. But talk a little bit about this site, because I think it looks like it's a really good tool for any parent to check out.
This really was, Art, for us, a solution to a problem. And the problem was when my son and friends of mine, when they turned 12, we knew that this next one was going to be a big deal. It was going to be 13. They were going to be a teenager.
Yeah.
And we thought, this is an important rite of passage, and most cultures in history have had a big deal and have made a big deal about this, with the exception of the Western culture. And And so we thought, what are we going to do? And we looked at a lot of resources, and there are a lot of good books out there about this, but we needed to know, what do we do? And we couldn't find anything, so we just kind of made it up. And we went on a 12-month journey that ultimately ended with us reading a letter to our sons, and then our sons read a letter to us about what they learned over this year period. All of our families were there, and it was a very emotional night, and it was fantastic. My wife did this with our daughter as well, and we journeyed kind of a small group. There would be moms with their 12-year-old daughters. They had a larger group of about, I think, 12, and then we had a group of about 8 fathers and sons. When I got to the end, I turned to my friend, we worked on this together, and we just kind of made this up. I said, this is so good. We can't let this idea die here. So that began maybe a year journey of us writing content and creating a digital platform that dads can just get together in a room, plug it up on their computer, and watch movie clips and some brief teaching, and then they get gifts along the way that they give their kids, and then ultimately they get this champion tribes medal, and they basically say, hey, we now believe you're a man, and we're not going to call you a boy anymore, and we have taught you over the last 12 months what it's like to be a champion in life. And I'm a big sports guy, Art, so I love sports, so this isn't a criticism of sports.
Yeah.
But we spend a lot of time and a lot of money trying to get our kids to be champions in sports, and most of them are going to be done with this in their late teens or early 20s. But they have the rest of their lives, and many kids have never been taught what it's like to be a champion, what it takes to be a champion in life, whether it's finances, decision-making, making friends, and all of that. And so we thought, let's create an opportunity for dads to tell their 12-year-olds, hey, before you become a teenager, we're going to go on a journey, and we're going to teach you what it's like to be a champion in life. And so I think we're in about 30 states right now of dads that have done this. And the thing that excites me about this, Art, is sociologists are telling us now that middle school is the new high school.
Yeah.
What that means is that, and you know this, but these kids aren't more mature. They're just more exposed to things and faster due to technology. So to reach them at this age and be talking about these critical issues at 12, it's not too early. It comes at the right time.
I'm so glad you're on here, Jeff, because there's certain things that, like, I'll sometimes sound like an old man, get off my lawn to, like, internet or technology or whatever the case may be, right? I think no matter what you look at, whatever property it is, there's always pros and cons, whatever the cliche you want to throw out. But like I totally agree with you in the sense of middle school is the new high school because they are exposed. I've always said, like, you should let kids enjoy their childhood, and I know the whole catch-22 about kids want to be grown-ups, they can do whatever they want. Adults are like, look at these kids, and I'm like, man, I remember those years. I wish I would like live that carefree life right now, right? It's all about perspective, right. But I think having that notion and being aware that yes, our kids, they have to embrace technology. They have to embrace a lot of things. And as long as we are with them and we know what's happening in their worlds and we can relate to them and we can kind of see where they're coming from and just listen, I think that's fantastic. So I'm really happy not only for your book, but Champion Tribes as well. And talk about when you found out you were going to be a dad. What was kind of going through your mind, sir?
I did the same thing you did. I got together with dads that I just had huge respect for their kids, huge respect for them, and I said, tell me, what did you do? And then I was very, very blessed to have a wonderful dad myself. And my dad was focused. He worked hard, but he was at most of my games, growing up. I knew that I was a priority, and I knew that he loved me. And my dad consistently told me that he loved me. He wasn't shy about doing that. And so that's just kind of flowed to my kids as well. So I feel like I kind of have a stewardship responsibility to be a good dad because I had such a good dad. That's one of the things I did is I started thinking, okay, I'm going to sit down with some guys that have done this well. And I began to see some similar themes. One of the similar themes was love your wife really well. Yeah. And, your marriage and your parenting really can be connected together. Now, we've got single dads listening today. That doesn't mean that that's a criticism. It's just that's one of the things, a consistent theme that I heard. I also heard that trying to have dinner together on a consistent basis was a really big deal. And then while you're at dinner, make sure that you just don't say, how was school today? Because the answer you will get is fine. What did you learn? Nothing. So you got to ask. you've got to ask better questions than that. So one of the things we would do is we would play the 3-in-1 game. Hey, what are 3 things that you like today?
Yes.
And what's one thing that you would change? And those kind of questions, and when my kids got to be teenagers, I was like, seriously, Dad, we got to do this. But ironically, my son came in the other night and said, well, Dad, you're not going to believe this. I was with friends the other night, and I said, hey, let's do 3-in-1, and went around it. And he goes, it was so great. I learned so much, about what's happening in my friend's life. So dinner time, conversation, and then bedtime, especially when they're younger, was really, really big deal for me, because I would, try to read books and pray with them. And what we discovered, in fact, this is part of Champion Tribes, we tried to leverage the everyday routine. I mean, going to a great vacation, that's awesome. Most of us can't go on a great vacation every month, right? But we do have meal times, we do have drive times, and we do have bedtime. And so what we want to do is provide some resources for those conversations. That as you're driving in the car, here's some questions to ask. Hey, during mealtime, here's some questions to ask. And at bedtime, here's some questions to ask. And so leveraging that, if you do it once, maybe not a big deal. But if you do it consistently over a number of years, it really adds up. And I think a lot of times as dads, we just need the seed of some good questions to ask. Because some of us, I'm not the greatest conversationalist in the world. So to be able to get a list of questions to ask my kids, it was just so helpful to have that. So I would really encourage you as dads to leverage the mealtime, drive time, and bedtime moments.
Love that. Yeah, I mean, I just laughed when you were talking about the dinner time conversations, and we do the same thing. Like, what was the best part of your day? What was, was there a bad part of your day? Explain why. And we kind of go in a round table, and my wife and I will answer the same thing. I totally agree with that. Every time I think about dinner time, when someone brings it up, I always harken back to my interview with Kevin Millar, who used to play for the Red Sox, now does a great job on Intentional Talk on the MLB Network.
Oh, yeah.
He was always saying, like, you put everything away, put all the smartphone, tablets away, and just have dinner and talk. Because I think if you establish those lines of communication and have that idea that, yeah, I can talk to my parents, they will always be there and be open with you when they go into middle school, go into high school, when things get a little rough for them. And it's like, all right, I can talk to my parents. I talk to them all the time. So having that notion, I agree with you 100%.
Especially when your kids get to be teenagers, as you develop that level of trust and they come home and they tell you something that, so-and-so did this, and it seems kind of like shocking, or you can get really upset or whatever. My pastor, Andy Stanley, says, do the no freak-out zone. Just go, that's really... And so the ambulance came, and what did you do next? And so you just have to just be really calm, because if your kids tell you something and you freak out, it may be the last time they're vulnerable with you like that. So it's kind of the no freak out zone in front of your kids as they're describing this to you.
Excellent point. I really appreciate you adding that. You gotta almost have a good poker face as well, too, right? So, like, if something happens, don't have your eyes bug out, or you're like, something happened with a facial expression. So, 100% agree, man. Talk about some of the core values you were looking to teach your kids as they were growing up.
Well, a principle I told them that you can either leverage this principle or crash your life against it is be humble or be humbled. The course of human history is full of every story that if you're not going to be humble, life will humble you. It's going to happen. I don't care who you are, how you think you are. If you're going to be arrogant and mistreat people, at some point you will be humbled. It could be the economy, it could be a relationship, it could be health. At some point we are all humbled. So you choose. And my choice to the kids is choose to go first, be humble. And that's everything from picking up trash to treating everyone that you come in contact with honor and dignity and respect. And whenever we go out to eat, we treat the waiter and waitress. We get their name. We treat them like we're actually serving them. Because, what a great country. We serve, at least your listeners in America and most of the world, you can go out and people will bring you food.
Yeah.
Let's don't get over that fact. That's amazing. So let's treat everybody with honor and dignity and respect, but you need to be humble about that. And the other thing I've tried to teach our kids is here's the cool thing, if you'll show up on time and write a handwritten thank you note, those two things will set you apart most than anyone else in the world. It's not that hard.
Nope.
Because most people don't write handwritten. They don't even say thank you. They certainly don't write handwritten notes. And most of them don't show up on time. If you'll just do those two things, you'll catapult ahead of most of most of your team. And the other thing I've told our kids is, hey, you don't have to figure out what you're supposed to do with your life in your 20s. I think we put an extraordinary amount of pressure on these kids saying, what's your major going to be? You need to know at 18. And then, oh, by the way, if this college admission acceptance board doesn't accept you, your life is ruined at 18. I think that's extraordinarily dangerous. I think that's extraordinarily wrong, by the way. I actually think that college, at least a lot of college educations, are a little overflated in what they're charging for the value that they're getting. And we have this mentality that if you'll work hard and get in college, your life will be set forever. And we got these kids coming out of college now. They've got a college degree and they got nowhere to go and no job and no skills. And so I told our kids, hey, do your best. But what you need to discover in your 20s is, what are you good at? What are you passionate about? And what are your skills? And you don't have to figure this out in your 20s. And just do your best, do your very best, and treat everybody with honor and respect. Show up on time, write thank you notes, work really hard, and just do the next right thing. That's what I've told our kids. You don't have to figure out the rest of your life. Just do the next right thing. And then after you do that, then guess what you do? You do the next right thing. And if you do that, you're going to look back several steps down the road and go, oh, wow, how did I get here? It's because that's how life, and I believe how God directs our path.
Oh, for sure. Again, another cliche, whatever, but it's the little things. It is. I remember my daughters were at the special Taekwondo class that they had, and a master came in, and he was talking about certain things. And at the end, he's like, I'm going to give you kids a tip. And, the kids are ranging from 5 years old to like 12 years old, right? And he's like, if you really like hang out at so-and-so's house, once parents come and pick you up, if the mom or the dad's there, look them straight in the eye, shake their hand and say, thank you for letting me come over. I enjoyed my time here. And I was like, yes, that's awesome. It sounds so like small, but like I just thought about that, like having a 7-year-old kid say that to me they're hanging out with my daughters and he said that. I'm like, that kid can come over anytime. That's fine. Like you hang out
Absolutely.
with them, so it's the small things, but I love it. I just think you want your kids to be accountable in the best way. You want to give them the tools to do that. So the advice you'd give to new dads, what would it be for you, Jeff?
Don't miss the fun. I mean, as new dads, you got diapers and you're not getting any sleep and there's stress and there's work and all this kind of stuff. But I'm telling you, don't miss the fun. I'm an overprotective dad. So sometimes I would be more concerned that the kids were going to fall down and scrape their knee than versus just having fun.
Yep.
And I'd just be so stressed out. So, and have fun and laugh and don't. And I think all dads have a natural insecurity. We secretly don't think we're very good dads, and that's okay. And a lot of us didn't have a good role model, so we have to start there. You role modeled in a good way for this. But I would ask you to read a good book on fatherhood. I would ask you to be a student of fatherhood. So if there is that natural insecurity, that's okay. Then if there was an insecurity about something at work, what you would do is you would learn about it. Well, go read a book about fatherhood and learn and be a student of fatherhood. But enjoy the journey, and don't put so much pressure on yourself. Because if you put pressure on yourself, you're going to put pressure on your kids. And pressure's not all wrong, but as much as the cliche is, Art, I do think you need to enjoy the journey. And I remember when my kids were really young and I was driving them to elementary school, we would listen to the Success Magazine CDs, which I thought was a great thing to do. My kids now laugh at me about this, right? It's like they were in the 6th grade and you got a principle about that, kids, about Success Magazine CD? And that's great. That's awesome. I like the fact that I was kind of raising the standard. But sometimes you just need to listen to Elmo or whatever and just have fun. So for me, don't lose the sight of the fact that there are a lot of dads and moms who would love to be a dad and would love to be a mom, and for whatever reason they can't. And you've been given this extraordinary gift. Yeah, there's a huge amount of responsibility, no doubt. But don't miss the fun, don't miss the joy, don't miss the gifts, because at some point, sooner than you think, they're going to be a college junior 3 hours away.
Yeah, just A lot of knowledge in there. So dads, take what Jeff is saying to heart, because I think it's so true. Love it, Jeff. Now I got the Life of Dad quick 5. Favorite family movie in the Henderson household is what?
That's interesting. Well, I would say mine was Field of Dreams until I got everybody together and they didn't even make it through half of it. Yeah.
Yep.
Because I'm waiting for the big moment when Kevin Costner throws a baseball with his dad, and so they're like halfway through the movie, the kids were like, "Dad, do we really have to watch this?" So I would have to say Christmas time would be Elf.
Oh, nice. Very cool. Just quickly on Field of Dreams, I recently chatted with the actor who played Kevin Costner's dad, Dwyer Brown, and while I was researching it, I found that Dwyer Brown's dad passed away 30 days, like a month before he started filming that. And that movie is all about fatherhood. He plays, Kevin Costner's dad, and it's just like he was processing all of those emotions, and people come up to him and hey, can I get a catch with you, because they are like trying to have a catch with their dad. So I feel like
that's awesome.
I think when your kids become parents, be like, hey, if they're coming over for the holidays, your grandkids, I know I'm going way into the future, but when your grandkids are like asleep and they're getting ready for Santa Claus and all that good stuff, you say, like, all right, now we're going to watch Field of Dreams and see if you guys understand why I want you to show this movie, right?
Yeah. So next summer, Major League Baseball is actually creating a game, I think, between the Yankees and the White Sox.
Correct. Yep.
And I want to go. I mean, I don't know how in the world they're going to do this, because I guess I got to build bleachers around it, but I want to go.
Well, if you build it, they will come, right?
That's right. Love it.
Dad joke right there.
We'll see if that's actually true or not.
Nice. Favorite family song, or was there a band you couldn't wait to introduce your kids to when they got older?
I would say my wife and I are big 80s fans, so I would probably say Journey.
Nice. Very cool. My youngest, she loves all the different 80s musics that my wife and I have on our phones and stuff like that, so that's great. Describe the perfect family vacation. Where would it be?
We like going to California and San Francisco and that area, and just kind of driving down the coast. And we don't get to do that a lot, but that's probably, of all of the vacations we've done, that's been our most favorite, and we'll probably go there again this summer.
Oh, that's fantastic. You mentioned sports. I got to ask you, do you have a favorite sport, and if so, which is your favorite team?
So we have a mixed family. My wife went to Auburn University. I went to the University of Georgia. So those are two big rivals.
Yep.
So we decided to split the kids. My daughter cheers for Auburn. My son cheers for Georgia. And Auburn, Georgia is a friendly rivalry. It's not like Auburn, Alabama, or Georgia, Georgia Tech, but it actually is the South's oldest college football rivalry. So we have a tradition that they play in November, and we have Georgia and Auburn Christmas tree ornaments, and whoever wins the game, their ornament gets to go at the top of the tree, right below the star.
Oh, that's fantastic. And I gotta say, I guess with your wife and your daughter, because I'm a big Bo Jackson fan, so of course he played for Auburn.
Okay, yeah, absolutely.
But there's a lot of great guys that came from Georgia as well. So, and lastly, what are the top 3 words you hope your kids will use to describe you as a father?
Love, joy, and focused. I just want them to know that I was focused on them and had my priorities right.
For sure, definitely. People, make sure you follow Jeff on Twitter at Jeff Henderson. Pick up his book, and it's a great read. Definitely check it out. Know what you're for, a growth strategy for work, and an even better strategy for life. Go to his website, jeffhenderson.com. Jeff, I really enjoyed our conversation on fatherhood. I think, what you meant about, being there for your kids. Just listening to you, I think that they know that you were there for them, so that's great, and continued success in the future, sir.
Thank you, Art. I love the time. I'll never look at Field of Dreams the same ever again. So in a good way. I love it. So thank you for that story. But thanks for having me.
Oh, my pleasure, sir.
Thanks so much for listening to the Life of Dad Show. You know where to find us, lifeofdad.com, and on Twitter and Facebook.
Noise you couldn't quite locate or explain. Couldn't quite locate.